Why does it appear that, despite our best efforts to manage projects with new technologies, an increasing proportion of projects are not finished within the budget, time, and program criteria that were initially planned? What is causing these projects to fall short of the owner's expectations? This is because projects rarely go as planned in real life, which is a sad but true fact. As a result, failures occur, but they also have positive consequences. They provide you with the necessary experience and knowledge to aid your future success. Today's session will examine the reasons for project failures and general tips on avoiding them. Hello everyone. This is George from Invences Learning. Welcome to our YouTube channel. Now let us look into the agenda of today's session. Firstly, we shall know the reason why do projects fail. Then, we shall see the top reasons for project failure, which include lack of experience by the project manager, lack of proper planning, unclear goals and objectives, improper or insufficient scope definition, lack of follow-up, no risk management, unsupported project management culture, and unrealistic expectations. Sounds interesting, right? Now, without any delay, let us begin the session. So, we shall now begin to know why projects fail. Before that, we shall see what is project failure. According to many industry observers, around 30% of all projects fail. Projects completed at a cost and duration of 20% more than expected are considered failures. According to similar studies, the failure rate for large or mega projects is substantially greater, with about 80% of large or mega projects failing to reach their specified objectives. When a project fails, it is not just the cost of labor and resources spent on the project wasted. The higher cost is the lost opportunity cost. It is considered a failure when a project fails to provide what was expected within the agreed upon budget and time frame. In most cases, however, the stakeholders assess whether the project was a success or failure based on their satisfaction with the output. In principle, every project should start with a goal that must be met within a reasonable amount of time and budget. If the project does not do this, it is deemed a failure. A project is also regarded as a failure if it fails to provide what was expected promptly. As a result, to succeed, a project must adhere to the budget, quality, and schedule constraints and offer the benefits outlined in the business case. If a project fails to fulfill the financial prediction or the ROI target, it is also deemed a failure. One can find various reasons for this, but the good news is that you can overcome each one and make your next project, and the one after that, a success with some project management fundamentals. Also, depending on when the project fails and the degree and repercussions, it can be more or less serious. Now that you have understood the term project failure, we shall see. Why do projects fail? Project management's purpose is to create a successful product or service. Unfortunately, errors of omission and a commission by management, project managers, team members, and others involved with the projects frequently obstruct this purpose. This study aims to use surveys and questionnaires to identify the frequent reasons for project failure so that knowledge may be used to prevent them from happening in the first place, and in many cases, to repair the damage and, ideally, recover the projects. Projects fail for a variety of reasons. However, according to Project Management Institute research, the most prevalent reasons for project failures include changes in organizational priorities, erroneous requirements collecting, and changes in project objectives. In any company or on any project, project failure can occur. Project failure can happen in any form and on any project. There are a plethora of reasons why people fail. It can be beyond the project manager's and team members' control. Projects that fail, as well as the people involved in them, share several characteristics. They are given prescriptions for fast solutions in both circumstances, which are often useless and can have devastating adverse consequences. When it comes to projects, technology is frequently suggested as an antibiotic. Suggestions include upgrading your project tracking software, employing the critical chain instead of the critical path, and computing project risk using a Monte Carlo simulation. Unfortunately, these strong treatments frequently fail because they are used incorrectly. Project failure will occur in any company and any project. The failure can be explained in several ways. First, it is frequently out of reach of the project manager and team members. Failure can also be managed. Any feature of abandoned initiatives and the persons involved in the loss has something in common. Doctors write prescriptions for quick fixes that frequently don't work in both circumstances and can have serious adverse effects. Now you guys have a clear picture of the term project failure. We shall see. Top reasons for project failure? Studying previous failed initiatives is often the greatest way to understand the causes of project failure. Although some people are hesitant to discuss such topics, the study of failed initiatives provides a rich setting where underlying basic reasons can be observed and understood. The top reasons why projects fail and why they cause project failures are identified and discussed now. These numerous reasons tell why projects fail. The majority of them are completely unrelated to one another. The first reason is lack of experience by the project manager. A project manager may not be required for small initiatives. However, for a large project, an experienced project manager is required. An experienced Scrum Master replaces the project manager in the Agile technique. The larger the project or the more complicated it is, the more an experienced project manager with a strong understanding of the issue area and a track record of completing projects is required. Because some project managers lack experience managing or leading a team, while others lack practical understanding, a project managed by inexperienced managers will see delay in completing tasks. Team communication is ineffective. Failure to meet deadlines. The unintentional project manager has no choice but to grasp project management principles quickly. But, unfortunately, project management is a profession that is underappreciated, and all too frequently, corporate executives are unaware of the impact that is adding the title of project manager. Knowledge and experience are balanced in management. In certain cases, and perhaps more common than not, newbies are in charge of the assignments. They may be capable of handling responsibilities, but the key is to maintain them in a position where they can succeed. Your would surely disappointment if you didn't. Unsupported project culture is comparable but not identical to this. When a project fails, a technical individual like software developer, chemist, etc., usually succeeds. This person is promoted to project manager and assigned to technical projects due to their success. The problem is that they rarely receive project management training and may lack the social and leadership skills required for the position. As a result, despite earlier triumphs, they struggle and frequently fail. This isn't to argue that only PMPs can be effective project managers, but training is critical. At the absolute least, all new project managers should be able to define accurate project goals and objectives, develop project schedules, manage people, and execute projects properly. In addition, small projects should be assigned to them initially to help them polish their talents. We've all seen it, the unintentional project manager who is tapped to lead a project based on their SME or technical experience. Consider the following scenario: you're working on a project to construct a responsive application for a client. The client now has a precise notion that is distinctive and challenging to accomplish. So they set out the concept before you and ask if you think it's feasible. But you don't know where to begin. Would the client be willing to collaborate with you? No. Even project managers can be inexperienced, which is hard to imagine, but it's real. Project managers are in charge of the project's success, and if they lack any skill or are unable to manage project risks effectively, the project is doomed to fail. So, what's the solution? Hire an experienced project manager. This aids in dealing with various project risks, but it also ensures that managers are aware of their duties and responsibilities, which is critical for project success. They must be able to lead groups of individuals to achieve a common objective or project for businesses and other organizations. Project management can be a good fit if you're organized, curious about people, and eager to take on a bigger role in your work. The next reason is lack of proper planning. We make schedules. We organize meetings. We design the structure, themes, and user interfaces. But, amid all that project preparation, we occasionally forget to account for our resources. It's a major factor in why projects fail. Project management entails resource management, which frequently includes other initiatives. Most professionals and enterprises are aware of the importance of financial resource planning. If the project planning is inadequate, the project will be doomed to fail. This is not to say that Agile project management isn't useful. The Agile methodology does not support a lack of planning. On the other hand, Agile necessitates meticulous planning when splitting a project into sprints. Therefore, each sprint must also be meticulously planned and carried out. It is not required to plan your project in great detail. In fact, doing so might be counterproductive, but it is critical to establish important dates for when each stage of the project must be completed. It is better to plan longer and complete early than the other way around, so leave room for flexibility in your plans. You should never embark on a new project by yourself. The more individuals you involve, the more likely you will design the job perfectly. Who should be a part of the early planning process? The planning process should include all stakeholders that have a direct role in the project's completion. You risk your project falling behind schedule if you don't do some basic preparation. You will face budget overruns and missing the deadline, and if your project does not reach the market on time, the firm may miss out on opportunities, lose consumers, and see sales fall. How to prevent it? When everyone is aware of the status of each project work, they may offer assistance or make adjustments as needed. It promotes proactive problem solving and proactive work. It doesn't require any difficulty to manage documents. Indeed, having a centralized, digital repository for all project papers simplifies your job as a project manager while increasing visibility. Next, we have unclear goals and objectives. Every project must have a predetermined goal. It will be difficult for the project team to achieve if the goal isn't clearly stated or changes along the route. For example, if a boat does not know its destination, it risks losing at sea and exhausting all of its resources to stay afloat. So, utilizing the SMART technique, start by determining your project's goal: specific, measurable, acceptable, realistic, and time-bound. The team will then know which way to go and will be able to do everything in its power to meet the deadline. In addition, knowing where you're headed will help make your personnel more motivated and invested in the project. Setting clear, focused objectives may seem obvious, but most projects fail because of this. They are either unable to recognize major project difficulties or lack clarity. The scope of a project is critical to its success. Beginning work without clear project objectives and goals is one of the surest ways to ensure project failure. After all, there's no way to know if you've succeeded if you don't know what you're attempting to do. On a personal level, consider the following scenario. Let's pretend you've decided to get in shape. What exactly does that imply? Do you wish to drop some weight? Do you want to gain muscle? Do you want to improve your endurance? Your physical condition will improve if you simply start exercising and eating better, which we should all be doing, but you won't fully know if you've succeeded. You'll need well-defined objectives. Having ambiguous goals is likely to lead to failure in your professional life. To avoid it, try the following can be performed. Establish specific and measurable objectives. Maintain everyone's focus on the broader picture. To keep track of objectives and milestones, consider adopting project management software. Hold a meeting with stakeholders before signing the contract to discuss the project's scope and requirements. After that, make a project plan, double-check it, and submit it for approval to the stakeholders. Only then can you sign the contract if everything is in order. If you're currently using the waterfall method, see if Agile is a better fit for your projects and teams. Agile project management necessitates a high level of customer involvement, which means you must communicate with them throughout the project to avoid misunderstandings. There are other common goal-setting frameworks, such as SMART goals and clear objectives, but the key is that your goals have to be measurable and reasonable. That is both measurable and achievable. Because the projects you oversee are more complicated, it's much more important to outline your goals explicitly. Then, improper or insufficient scope definition. The scope of a project is everything you're going to do and, conversely, everything you're not going to do. So, once you've defined the project's goals, usually with a work breakdown structure, you need to set it in stone and vigilantly defend against unanticipated modifications. Changes to project plans started through a change management board, for example, are acceptable since the project management professional can then issue a new schedule, undertake risk estimation, and budget plan around the new objectives as needed. Otherwise, you'll almost certainly miss your deadlines, and scope will lead to project failure, displeasing both the team and the customer. Scope creep causes a great deal of confusion in project and team management. Unexpected delays, unplanned adjustments, and estimation errors prevent the team from completing the agreed-upon scope of work on schedule. Scope creep, a common occurrence as projects progress. This occurs when project stakeholders try to add a few more features to the original concept without considering the consequences. It happens when you don't set clear parameters from the outset or keep adding to the deliverables. In the first place, it appears to be completely harmless. However, a simple consumer request to add an item here, a smart idea to expand a service there, your project scope has overflowed, and your team has become overextended before you know it. Scope creep when the project's parameters aren't well defined from the start, or when there's pressure from within the team or externally from customers or superiors to take on tasks that weren't originally planned. Lessons learned here include: through scope management, keep track of any changes to project deliverables. Allowing new products to overshadow important goals is not a good idea. Scope creep, a common reason for project derailment in recent studies, and it is one of the most repeated themes in project failures. Unfortunately, there aren't many surprises as to why, with the usual suspects being: there is a lack of formality within the team in the scope definition process. Requirements that are vague or open-ended, such as those that conclude in etc. Failure to carry out change control after the project has taken off. The business, not the intermediary, defines the requirements. Individual needs are never compared to the overall project goals. How to prevent it? Scope creep, a concern since it frequently leads to project failure. You haven't planned the time or resources needed to finish the extra duties, so what could have been a huge success is a huge disappointment. This issue frequently arises in large projects. Again, this is related to the absence of good planning discussed earlier. It will be much easier to effectively plan and estimate the project duration if the scope is adequately established. Consider project scope to be the document that outlines the project's objectives, deliverables, features, and budget. It should be highlighted that both the project's cost and the product's cost must be defined. Begin a kickoff meeting with the stakeholders to discuss the project scope and hazards once you have defined the scope of work. Ensure your project plan includes a section on scope control and keep to it. The scope management strategy outlines how your project scope will be defined and managed. It usually includes a work breakdown structure and a statement about the project scope. The next one is a lack of follow-up. Many project managers will make a schedule and then never, or just occasionally, update it. If they don't, they'll just fill in %did, which is an arbitrary statistic that team members frequently choose out of thin air. It's no surprise that deadlines are frequently missed, and projects fail. Another instance where project management software comes in handy is in this case. On time and budget are essential components of successful project delivery. Yet, surprisingly, only a small percentage of initiatives are effectively baselined and tracked. There is no effective way to comprehend what and when corrective actions, if any, are required if an accidental project manager is unable or does not know how to effectively establish a schedule, monitor, and report on the actual duration against the anticipated effort/duration. Furthermore, there is no means to report or manage upwardly to maintain clear expectations. The project manager must closely monitor the completion of his project and the fulfillment of the tasks to ensure that everything goes as smoothly as possible. They are thus able to intervene quickly if an issue emerges. It is critical to the project's success and its reputation and career. As a result, it's critical to ensure that the project is on track to meet its end goal. All of the intermediate goals have been met. No task is postponed. Budgets and timelines are adhered to. The right and efficient utilization of resources is achieved. To prevent this, do not hesitate to use the various monitoring tools and update them daily. Even though monitoring and control appear obvious at each project stage, projects might still fail if this type of project work is not done in the early stages. Monitoring aids properly in managing changes, adjusting schedules and plans, and preventing scope creep and the complications that it might cause. For project management, use data-driven technologies. For example, time is the primary resource determining project expenses and how well a project will move. As a result, develop a time and expense monitoring system that uses employee input to track project health. Review the status of your projects with project schedules and Kanban boards. To avoid this failure, record project management actuals, such as the start date, work completed, and estimated remaining work. Next. No risk management. There is nothing as zero risk in project management, and few initiatives run well. If you haven't planned, a situation like a supplier's bankruptcy, a shortage of raw materials, a team member's resignation, or numerous malfunctions can swiftly snowball into disaster and lead to the project's failure. Because of this, you must be prepared to deal with any issues that may develop during the project. Risk management must be established from the beginning of the project. Identify all potential risks to be better avoided, limited, or even eliminated by evaluating the preventive and remedial steps taken if they occur. Because each project is unique, project management is fraught with unpredictability. We call it to risk when we try to define and quantify that uncertainty. The project manager's responsibility is to predict problems before they occur. Proper risk management leads to success. Once hazards have been identified, the project manager and team can decide how to mitigate and prevent those risks if they occur during project preparation. Every undertaking involves some element of uncertainty and, as a result, risk. By implementing a risk management approach from the start, one of the most effective methods to boost a project's chances of success is to eliminate predictability difficulties. Unfortunately, too few initiatives appropriately assess risk instead of treating it as a one-time activity, if they do it at all. Therefore, a focused and appropriate risk log must be established at the start of the project and regularly maintained once it is up and running. To avoid it, try this. Identify risks during interviews with stakeholders and brainstorm sessions with other managers involved. Prepare a risk management strategy that considers technological, managerial, organizational, and external threats. Prepare and discuss contingency plans with the project stakeholders and managers. You should assess the potential risks before signing the contract with the stakeholders. Project managers, in particular, are in charge of managing risks throughout the life of a project. Of course, you won't be able to avoid, prevent, or prepare for all of them, but you should be aware of the most important ones and have a strategy in place to deal with them. Then, unsupported project management culture. Many organizations just do not get project management, resulting in a fundamental top-down misunderstanding of what it is and the value it provides. This can result in projects being conducted by inexperienced or untrained employees with little management assistance and missed chances to upskill a team for improved project outcomes. In insurance, when a junior employee was called to consult for a corporation, he discovered that a complicated project was being managed by an unskilled secretary utilizing 20 Excel files. In this project failure case, it is evident that the project sponsors and leadership did not completely comprehend what it takes to run a project, whether using project management software or qualified staff. This type of failure is difficult to overcome since it necessitates senior management education and a cultural shift. The project's chances of success are substantially reduced without adequate culture. So, this project culture is often referred to as the secret sauce of productivity. To complete the project on schedule, each team member must work as part of a well-oiled collaborative machine. Regardless of their position in the project, knowledge and know-how should readily flow amongst team members. When a major problem emerges, the entire team is told, and the team's combined wisdom is used to solve the problem. When project teams aren't moving in the same direction or method, disputes can occur, causing projects to fall apart. To prevent this, make sure there's a cultural match amongst entities before starting any endeavor. Companies, project teams, and team members all fall within this category. In addition, organizational culture must be considered in your project communication strategy. The last reason on our list is unrealistic expectations. Unrealistic expectations, often masked as unwavering optimism, have sunk countless undertakings. First, you must clarify what your team can do in the time frame as a project manager. Then, once your expectations align with reality, you must regularly convey them to the client and your supervisors. Wrong estimations result in messed up project plans, frequent and substantial modifications to project timelines, budget overruns, and project failures. A lack of a data-driven approach to project estimation and planning, instead of depending on personal expertise, is one of the most common reasons for poor estimates. It can rapidly become messy if the project strategy is overly ambitious or not founded in reality. This happens when different stakeholders have different ideas about what the project should achieve. How to prevent it? Your team will have a far higher chance of completing the project successfully if realistic expectations are set and accepted by all project stakeholders. One of the most common causes of project failure is the creation of unrealistic expectations. When starting a project, it's critical to understand what has to be done and how to achieve it quickly and within the deadline. Unfortunately, most of the time, team members begin to procrastinate or become burned out. Learn how to keep project expectations in check. Make use of time management software. For example, upload assignments with estimates and deadlines, then have your team log their time and compare predictions to actual hours. With your team, go over the current work status and estimates. If you see consistent time budget overruns, talk to your team about it, figure out what's causing it, and develop solutions to avoid repeating the mistake. Use previous data and keep the context in mind while estimating activities. For example, your team is unlikely to be placed in a situation where they must accomplish an assignment in the same amount of time. So, what's the solution? Before the start of the project, set some objectives. Then, project managers must meet with individual team members to understand their roles in the project. So, now we have come to the end of this session. By now, you guys would be aware that a project is regarded as a failure if it fails to provide what was promised within the agreed upon budget and time limit. In most cases, however, the stakeholders assess whether the project was a success or failure based on their satisfaction with the output. So, if you guys want your project to succeed, You have to understand every project management concept in detail. We at Invensys Learning will provide you with a project management professional training course that can help you with a successful project. Check out the description box for more information. I hope this session gave you a lot of information you were willing for. Please drop it in the comments section below if you think we have missed something. Thank you.